and welcome to another episode of Aileen's Arcane Archive. I'm Louise, your pajama archivist, one half of the Ailene Lynn Ray writing team. And today, we're going to jump into some steamy romantasy. This is Luxe In Between, Luxe's Lullaby Trilogy, Book 1 by Cara Blaine. Now, this was recommended to me by several reading groups that I am in when I asked them for a recommendation of an indie, steamy romance. So I was looking for steamy and behind closed doors romantasy. And I find that there are two kinds of romantasy books. One is the kind that's all about the physical interaction and the story is secondary. And two, where the physical interaction between the main characters augments and is also, fun to read, the story. And this is the case with Cara Blaine's Luxe In Between. Now, this is a why choose kind of steamy romantasy where the main character has three paramours that are following her through the tale. It also has well fleshed out characters and a well fleshed out story, no pun intended. It is a great story with magic and intrigue and danger, and all four of the characters in there are very sympathetic characters. They all have their sometimes tragic backstories that they, challenges that they are overcoming. And so I find that that is a nice juxtaposition between a great fantasy story and the explicit scenes that we find in there. And it does get steamier and steamier as the trilogy goes on. So if you don't find the amount of steam that you want in the first book, you will find it in the second and third books. So let's read the back here. Hush, little witchling, don't say a thing. Daddy's going to take you to the fairy ring. A prophecy, a ruthless queen, 3 hot fae males, and Luxe in between. After her parents' mysterious disappearance, Luxe's sole family is her Aunt Rhea. When Rhea passes away, Luxe is determined to keep her aunt's business alive and to finish grad school despite her debilitating grief. But when Luxe reopens her aunt's shop, a handsome, mysterious stranger appears and divulges secrets about her parents and herself that change Luxe's life irrevocably. Unbeknownst to both of them, his actions trigger the latch of the proverbial Pandora's box, unleashing Luxe's magic, a prophecy, and a sinister threat to Luxe's life. On the run, Luxe soon finds herself surrounded by a total of 3 beautiful fae males, all determined to impress and protect her. While that's sweet and all, Luxe wonders if she'll ever be able to control her magic and protect herself, and most importantly, can she rescue her sole remaining parent before it's too late? So, I invite you to sit back and find your comfy place, because I will tell you, it is a deliciously rainy day outside here where I'm living, a perfect day to curl up with a good book. So find your comfy space, your beverage of choice. Sit back and let me tell you a story. Chapter 1 of Luxe In Between by Cara Blaine. Condolences. Luxe couldn't remember how many times in the last 6 months her aunt jokingly said it shouldn't be this expensive to die. The advantage of a drawn-out, painful disease like cancer is that it gives the person it ravages time to make plans and say goodbye. So when Luxe's Aunt Rhea passed away, over a year after her initial diagnosis, Luxe didn't have the burden of figuring out what came after. Days after the doctor muttered the word terminal, Rhea was getting organized. She made arrangements, wrote down explicit instructions, and left enough money in her savings account to pay for everything, if only barely. Thus, 4 days after her passing, Luxe was accepting condolences from her aunt's friends and neighbors, and even some loyal customers of her shop. It was a simple memorial service held in the community center of their apartment complex. A small table held an altar with an urn containing Rhea's ashes. More tables lined a different wall covered with food. Several people gave short speeches. Again, details arranged ahead of time. No one seemed to mind that Lux couldn't bring herself to speak in front of the crowd, aside from a very brief, "Thank you so much for coming to honor my aunt." The first person who spoke was an old friend of her aunt's named Liz, who came to the service from out of town. Lux had only ever met her a couple of times, but she knew the two women stayed in close touch via phone calls and emails. It was Lux's understanding that they were friends before Rhea and Lux moved to their current town. She didn't remember, since she was only 4 or 5 when that happened. "Rhea was the most down-to-earth person I've ever met," Liz said. "I tend to get myself worked up over things I shouldn't, but I always knew I could call her, and she'd talk me down and have me laughing by the end of the conversation. That woman was hilarious." Lux smiled, tears stinging her eyes. It was true. Her aunt could have done stand-up comedy, especially after a glass of wine or two. A longtime customer of Rhea's occult supply shop, Hecate's Boutique, was the next to speak. His name was Charlie. "I remember the first time I met Rhea. It had to be around 20 years ago now," he said. "Her shop had just opened a week or two before, and curiosity got the better of me. I didn't know anything about anything back then, but I was sure searching for something." He smiled sadly. "At first I thought I might be searching for her, even though she told me she was old enough to be my mother." He chuckled, then grew sober once more. "That wasn't the case. I wasn't that young, nor was she that old, but I digress. Rhea helped me understand that what I was searching for was already here." He held a fist to his chest. "Somehow that woman led me to truths in only a couple of conversations that years of therapy never could. I owe her a debt. I'll miss her." Tears streamed down Lux's face by the end of that one. That story was so Rhea. The woman could connect with anyone in any situation. It was a gift, one Lux envied. The only person Lux ever truly connected to since her parents disappeared was Rhea herself. As far back as Lux could remember, she always felt on the outside looking in. Her aunt was more like the person on the inside, opening the door and coaxing people to join her. As the gathering wound down, an elderly neighbor, Mr. Hawkins, headed to the exit and stopped to speak with Lux on his way out. "I know you two only had each other as far as family," he said, patting her on the shoulder. "If you ever need some company, my door is always open." She smiled, her face hurt from smiling, which seemed an odd side effect of a memorial service, and said, "Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. You're very kind. I appreciate that you came today." That was all true. She chose not to say that she didn't plan to spend her time listening to him complain about liberal snowflakes and his son-in-law as he chain-smoked for hours on end. She knew he meant well. The room was only reserved for 3 hours, so when there was a half an hour left in the time slot, Lux politely but firmly ushered out the last of the well-wishers so she could clean up. As she stacked the disposable serving trays and dishes from the caterer, a local Greek restaurant her aunt liked, the manager of the apartment complex showed up. Mr. Lind and his wife were decent managers and seemingly kind people, but Lux really wanted to be done with people in general for the day. "Hey, Mr. Lind, I'm just getting the mess cleaned up. I'll be finished soon." She glanced over her shoulder, attempting one more smile. The thin man in late middle age wore a sympathetic expression. "Actually, I was going to tell you I'd take care of it for you, if you'd rather head home." "Oh, really?" "I imagine you're tired, and cleaning up is the last thing you want to do." "Well, if you're sure." He waved her out the door. "I'm sorry for your loss. Rhea was a good woman. Go get some rest." She nodded and waved her goodbye, feeling choked up at the sweet gesture. She managed to thank you as she grabbed her bag, then the stack of covered casserole dishes folks brought for her to take home, leaving the community center. She hurried past her aunt's apartment on the way to her own, gaze averted from the door, angling her head down so that her dark curls physically blocked her side view. She would have to do an estate sale with the furniture and whatever else eventually, but she couldn't even think about that yet. Although she lived in her own one-bedroom in the complex now, her aunt's place was the only childhood home she remembered. She wasn't ready to empty it entirely. As soon as she got home, she kicked off the black high heels she purchased especially for the service before stuffing all the casseroles into the freezer. She already had 2 partially eaten ones in the fridge that would last for days more. Then she poured a glass of wine and collapsed onto her second-hand red velvet couch. Rhea laughed when Lux brought it home, because it didn't match anything in her apartment, but Lux didn't care. She loved the soft, luxurious comfort of the fabric and the old Hollywood aesthetic. As a bonus, she liked red wine, so any spills were well camouflaged. Listless, she picked up the book sitting on the coffee table and tried to read. In a couple more weeks, she would start her 3rd semester of grad school, and she wanted to enjoy reading for pleasure as much as possible before she was inundated with psychology textbooks and articles. She gave up quickly, though, and put the cozy, witchy mystery back down after reading the same page at least 4 times. She stared unseeing at the wall across from her, which featured several random pieces of art from various thrift stores, and took occasional sips of her wine. What was she supposed to do now? Of course she would have to work, and attend school, and go grocery shopping, and pay bills. All those things were simple, really. The difficulty existed in the downtime, the seconds and minutes and hours that lay between necessary tasks. The moments when she picked up a book in her aunt's favorite genre and realized she wouldn't be able to talk or laugh about it with Rhea later. As Lux entered into adulthood, Rhea transitioned from a parental figure to a best friend, living in the same complex, working in the same shop, enjoying many of the same interests. Lux never really fit in at school and wasn't in touch with any of her high school or college friends, aside from the occasional comment on a social media post. Nor was she dating anyone. She stopped wasting her time on guys as soon as she knew her aunt was sick. Now Rhea was gone. And really, what was Lux supposed to do with all of these endless in-between moments? She sighed, draining the rest of her glass. When in doubt, sleep sounded like a good plan. The only hard part about sleep was the few moments after waking up, before she remembered her new reality all over again. She knew that in time she would wake up with her heart already knowing she was alone in the world, not having to be startled by the remembrance. Out of the two, she wasn't sure which would be better. It was almost 5 p.m., too late for a nap and too early to go to sleep for the night, but Lux changed into her favorite PJs and crawled into bed anyway. Tomorrow. She would figure out how to deal with the in-between moments tomorrow. That is Chapter 1 of Lux In Between, part of the Lux's Lullaby trilogy by Cara Blaine. If you liked what you heard, I encourage you to go and get a copy of your own and check out this definitely steamy romantasy with all the things in it that you love about romantasy. And if you like what you have seen and heard today, I invite you to like and subscribe to Ailene's Arcane Archive. And so, I hope that you enjoyed our time together today, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. And as always, your life is a story, so go out and live it.